How many people worked in a place that checked the air filter every day? What kind of environment were you working in?
Just, like, you only usually had to check it after, like when the cottonwoods were blooming.
When the cottonwoods were blooming?
Like the back of the filters would just be covered in that white cotton.
So you had a condition that warranted you checking them all the time. The only reason that you need to check your air filter is if you're working in an environment that's pretty dirty or has a condition that warrants it. And what happens is you over-service it. And how can over-servicing my air filter cause my engine to fail? What are the problems that are created?
Wear out the seals from taking them apart.
You take it in and out, the seals can get damaged, left out of place, they can get worn. What are some other things?
Properly placed that.
They get improperly replaced. If I take this air filter out, it's like this, and I want to check it, I got to take the nut off, and there's the sealing surface that he's talking about. Pull the air filter out. See that plastic piece kind of catches? I pull it out and look at it and like, huh, it's pretty clean. I stick it back in. What happened when I do that? It's catching. What's inside of there that this mounts on? There's like a bolt or a rod. This particular one, there's a tin plate. It's almost an inch long inside of there. And if that happens to be in this position, and I pull it out, and there's some dirt down here on this sealing surface or on this plastic, and I'm like trying to get it off, and it falls off, what's it going to land on? That metal bar, that plate. And when I stick this back in, now where's the dirt? It's on the inside of the air filter. So when I start my engine, what's it going to do? Sucks it in. Tomorrow, I pull it back out. Looks pretty clean. Sucked it in. Next day, oh, pretty clean. Sucked it in. Every day, I suck in just a little bit of dirt. And in the life of an engine, how much dirt does it take? Quarter of a cup. Not very much dirt. And so over-servicing the air cleaner, I'm doing two things. One, just to taking it apart, and I check it, I can get dirt in there. Then you take it out, and you look at it, and you're like, wow, this one's dirty. So you go out there, and you're taking an air hose, and you're blowing the dirt off. Is that how you blow it off? This way? How do you blow it off? You go from the inside out, so you're blowing it in here, and so your air tip is blowing air in there, and it creates a vacuum, so the dirt flies out. What's it do? It's a natural. If you watch it, there's people out there, and the dirt's swirling, and so they're taking this, and they're sucking the dirt, and they're embedding it on the inside of the air filter, and you're like, ah, that looks pretty clean. Sucks it into it. You laugh, and you think, no, that happens all the time. Then you see people that improperly try to blow it off, and they go in this direction, and they blow it through the paper, damages the paper, and they create holes that suck it in there. You can see I'm not really a big fan of blowing it off. Or they take it and like, well, I'm going to use air, I'm going to use my hand, and so they're hitting it with their hand, the dirt's flying off, and they want to stand downwind, and it goes, and it also gets down here, and they're like tapping it, and then they're tapping it, and it's on my hand. Now it's on this sealing surface, and I stick it back in, and it sucks it in. There's a lot of ways that I can get dirt on the inside of my air filter. And over-servicing of it is the number one reason for engine failures. And that information comes from Donaldson, who sells air filters. And so, do they want you to change the air filter every day with a new one? No. What they want you to do is use some sort of indicator. And if you have a good quality one, have a warning filter. So if you do pull it out, look and see if that thing has failed. This one that I was showing you has a safety filter in it, right here. And this is supposed to be white, and it's pretty dark. And it goes into this air filter, and I'll pass the two of them around. You'll notice by looking at the outside air filter that the outside air filter doesn't look very dirty. It looks very clean. It actually doesn't look bad. You'd want to stick it back in. But when we pulled it out, the student happened to notice, he's like, this inside filter is really dirty. So we got to looking at it, and he's like, you know, when I pulled the cap off the end, he's like, I didn't really pay attention to it, but when I pulled the cap off, I just reached in and pulled the air filter out, and then I looked at the safety filter, which he said I never did until I took this class, but I happened to do that. I said, well, did you unbolt it? He's like, no, there was no nut on it. And what happened was the operator forgot to put this little nut on it. And so if you look at that and you stick your pinky in there, which is the size of the bolt, that's a pretty good size hole. And if you don't have this thing covering up that hole, is it going to be easier to go through paper that's dirty or through that big gaping hole? That was a $3,000 nut.